how to teach these skills. And these are ways that we do it in our program. We found a lot of success with this. And I think this is built throughout the program. So it's not just when they get to the varsity level, but this is starting at the younger ages and moving on up all the way in. We kind of look at the very basics of it. Our youth league is 3-on-3 because we get more movement, we get more touches, more dribbles, more shots, more rebounds, more defense, all of those things. We want to make sure that we're getting those at a young level. So they're used to moving without the ball. They're used to having to do a lot of actions repetitively. And then when they get up to the high school, middle school, and high school level, they already have that skill down because those are skills. And if they have them, we don't have to spend the time, as much time working on. We refine them at that point. So here are the 6 things, 6 ways that we can teach each skill. One is play a lot of 3-on-3. Like I said, that's what we do with our youth program, and then you can build up into 4-on-4 into 5-on-5 with that. Second, play 4 versus 3. Give the offense an advantage. So 4v3 is going to mean that if a player without the ball is moving, if you're not being guarded, you need to be moving to the open space. You're constantly looking for the open space. And when you're looking for it, you will naturally start to do that when it's 4 versus 4. So you build that up to a 4 versus 4. And now you start to see where the defense, when they make a mistake, and where you can capitalize on it. Third, incorporate concepts into open gyms and workout sessions. This is huge. If you're doing workout sessions, small groups, individual workouts, you need to incorporate these skills. Find out what your players need to work on. Every player, I can tell you, needs to work on pivoting, needs to work on jump stops, needs to work on their passing, but incorporate those things into each workout. It doesn't have to be the entire workout. It just has to supplement the workout so that the player is getting a little bit here and there all the time. Open gyms, we like to run open gyms, and we like to give an emphasis of you can't score until this happens. You can't score until we get a backdoor cut. You can't score until we get 3 passes. You can't score until you shift the defense with a loop. Whatever it is that we're trying to do, you can't score until you get 2 feet into the paint and pass and kick it out. If you give them that parameter, now they're forced to do it. They're forced to have to understand the game, and then they can play from there. Fourth thing is emphasize the skill. You want to remember that players will do what you emphasize, not what you say, not what you think is a good idea, what you emphasize in practice. If you're not emphasizing jump stops, if you're not emphasizing movement without the ball, if you're not emphasizing pivots, that's when it starts to get sloppy. And that's why these things are skills that win games, because you're emphasizing the things that keep the ball in your hands, that keep the possession going, that keep your team or give your team a chance to score. And when you emphasize that in practice, they will do it in the games. Because remember, that's an extension of your practice is what they're doing in the games. So if they're turning it over in the games, guess what? Probably not emphasizing the right things or not emphasizing it enough in practice. And I don't mean emphasize by when you're getting them on the line to run. Running has never made anybody better at pivoting. Running has never made anybody better at getting a 2-foot jump stop. Can it get a player's attention? Certainly it can. But running, it's not a punishment. It's a matter of, it's a turnover. We blow the whistle. You didn't do what we had to. The ball turned over to the other side. That's what happens in a game. So we want to emphasize what will happen in a game, and the players will start to understand it. Show it to them in game film. If they don't believe you, show it to them in practice film if you film your practices, and let them see that this is what we're trying to eliminate because this is what's taking us out of games. Fifth is use similar terminology throughout your program. So whether you're 9th grade, 10th grade, or you're a varsity coach, you're a middle school coach, find out what terminology is being used at the varsity level and use that throughout the program. Now players are going to start to recognize that common language. It's going to be easier to understand. And then lastly is teach these skills beginning at an early level. We do it through our youth program. We've got kind of a system of how we do our youth league in the winter, how we do our youth camps in the summertime, how we teach things to our freshmen that are just coming in. So they're going from 8th grade to 9th grade, and then the succession of what they're doing from middle school to high school gets a little bit more complicated and a little more in depth, and that keeps your kids playing at a high level. So teach these skills at the beginning, at an early age, at an early level. That way you can build on them. If you're just coming into a program, doesn't mean you can't teach them right now, but it may take a year or two. I've always said that the second year is really the year you should see the most growth with your team, because especially the varsity level I'm talking about, because you'll have returners who have already had you 1 year. They understand what you want and they can bring the next group of guys along. The first year you're in that position, the first year can be the hardest year because players, while they have the best of intentions and are trying as hard as they can, they haven't ingrained the habits in themselves yet. And when they don't have the habits, the thought process takes a little longer. That means the reactions are a little slower, and you don't get quite the same level of play as you do with that second year guy. So a second year, if a coach is taking over a program, that's when you want to see the biggest amount of growth.